334 Bowery, located within the NoHo Historic District Extension. It's docket number 168311, block 530, lot 38. An application for a certificate of appropriateness in the borough of Manhattan, a classical revival style store and loft building designed by Charles M. Straub and built in 1908-09. The application is to amend certificate of appropriateness 129553 to alter the ground floor. This was last presented and approved by the commission September 13th of 2011.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Carly Bond from the preservation staff. This is 334 Bowery, which is located on the west side of the street between Bond Street and Great Jones Street. In 2012, this building received commission approval to remove the existing storefront and the plywood and corrugated metal paneling. And this is the commission-approved storefront as seen in this photograph, which consists of a metal sign bin element, 2 storefront bays of operable aluminum and glass doors with transoms, which are separated by a metal mesh panel, which recalls the historic brick pier, which originally carried over to the ground floor. The applicants have returned today and are seeking additional modifications to the ground floor, including the removal of this residential entrance door and associated metal paneling, and are proposing to install an aluminum glass door and transom to match the existing commission approval, and to remove the metal paneling from the north and south brick piers, and to install a metal mesh treatment similar to the central pier. The metal mesh is a 3/16 inch cable with a 1-inch grid and a steel frame. And also to paint everything else black on the ground floor that isn't currently painted. And we have the architect here if you have any questions.
Can we see the one you're in front of? Thank you.
Do you want me to bring it closer?
Okay.
All right, questions?
I'm not quite sure I understand. Originally, there were 3 piers.
Yes,
Is that right?
correct.
You had 3 big piers,
That's
right?
correct.
The one in the center had been removed a long time ago.
Yes.
And we already approved replacing that with steel mesh.
Right, to recall the dimension of that pier.
Okay, so now we're getting rid of the other 2 brick piers.
The brick piers are still there. They're going to uncover them, which are currently covered over in a metal paneling that's painted beige. So
Okay.
the brick will be exposed and then covered over with a mesh, so you'll still be able to see the brick through it. It will also not be painted, so you'll be able to see the material now more than you can see it currently.
Would the mesh be attached to the brick, or?
The mesh is in a steel frame that'll have 4 attachment points through the mortar joint, ideally.
Okay, other comments or questions?
So in seeing through the mesh, it will still be a darker color. It looks very light in the pier.
Right, the brick now is covered over with a metal panel, so it's completely obscured currently. So there is historic brick here and here, which you cannot see. So they're proposing to remove that, expose that brick, but also shield it with a metal mesh treatment to match the center commission.
Could I trouble you to pass that around, because it's really hard to see.
At the last hearing, actually, it was actually at this table where the commission came up with the scheme of adding the mesh where the pier was historically. And I think it had a different design.
To bring that element down. So we're trying to
Brick
just,
is in back.
And now you can see
I
the
think it's
underlying
definitely
material.
approved.
you'll be able to see it.
Version.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
You see how it where
I think it'll be
there's
okay.
some stuff behind it.
It is true, but it's a different issue.
Right, but I just have a question, and okay, we reopen the hearing so that you can answer that. But since you're taking down this metal, is there any problem with is it because you want to unify the storefronts? Is that why you want
We're
to?
trying to accomplish 2 things. One is that we're bringing these elements down, and obviously, actually, this brick pier is as narrow as you see here. So we're trying to harmonize it across this dimension and also across this dimension. So that's the purpose of covering these with a mesh that you can see through it. So it's like giving to both things, so that this is not just a single element any longer.
The pier on the right is actually been made, we believe, been made thinner over the
yeah.
years because there's now a secondary.
That's right. This is an egress for a number of, you're absolutely right. You're so smart. this is an egress corridor for so many, I don't know how he does it. I can't remember. That's why he works here. Not a job. Take my job. This door represents the exit of a corridor that serves a lot of buildings in that particular block. So at some point, this was cut in order to allow that door. And obviously there's no ability to put it back because then you can't have a door, there's no exit anymore. So it's really narrow and it looks a little funny, so that's the reason for trying to harmonize this with the dark color, should be mentioned.
Okay. Any more questions for the applicant? Okay, we will close the hearing. And comments? So this is an amendment to, it's an amendment to a previously approved C of A, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
I like the way he harmonizes.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
fine with
it's
it.
an improvement to showing the historic material, yeah.
Okay,
Recovery of the original material is great.
Yeah.
It's a big plus.
And it's a credit to this commission that you suggested.
okay, good, right, that. All right, okay, good. So then we'll move to decision, Fred?
Down to me again.
Oh, boy.
Number 7, right? Yes. 334 Bowery in the NoHo Historic District Extension. Application is to amend the Certificate of Appropriateness 12-9553 to alter the ground floor. I note that the building style, scale, materials, and details contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the NoHo Historic District and therefore recommend approval, noting that the removal of the metal paneling of the brick piers will expose historic fabric, that cladding the brick piers in metal mesh panels to match the center pier will allow the historic brick to be visible, and painting the ground floor black will create a visually unified ground floor. That existing egress conditions prohibit the northern pier to be restored to its original width. Therefore, the proposed metal mesh paneling over the brick pier will help conceal the associated shift in plane. That the proposed southern aluminum and glass entrance door and transom are in keeping with the existing commission-approved storefront in terms of configuration, material, finish, and details, and that the proposed alterations will enhance the ground floor's sense of symmetry, which is in keeping with the design of the upper stories of the building.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This application is approved.
Could I make a